Okay, so before we get into this, this is not going to be the most BRYCERIEL friendly post. I actually don't really like BRYCERIEL as a concept. It's up there with Tam Lane with things I dislike. That being said, I didn't go into your comments like trying to start a fight or anything. If anything, you showed up on my For You page organically, and I never see BRYCERIEL content on my For You page. I just thought you were like a non ship aligned theorist. And aside from the ship stuff, everything else about your admittedly beautiful picture posts, I do agree with. I agree that Azrael has a lot of imagery surrounding him that would connect him to Hunt with this whole like hell made winged man who is compatible with Bryce's power thing. I do agree with that. The issue that we're going to be running into here is that I just don't think that Azrael and Hunt's origins theoretically being similar will have anything to do with Bryce's endgame ship. So not to like impose like my own understanding on why you or other people ship BRYCERIEL, but I think it comes from the idea that you guys are seeing a a correlation or a commonality between Hunt and Bryce choosing each other as mates versus Azrael's thing about what if the cauldron was wrong, which is undoubtedly an Elriel thing. Like, we can agree on that. I mean, I don't know if we can agree on that, but let's assume that we do. And there is something in common with all four of these characters speaking on choice in this way. Bryce and Hunt is like this whole thing where it's not like explicitly stated, like, oh no, these are cauldron blessed or mother blessed mates or whatever, because they don't have the cauldron in Lunathian. But they choose each other in a way that I think Elaine would want as a character. Like, that's actually why I like Bryce and Hunt, because it doesn't feel as inevitable as, say, Phazand or Nessian, which I have my own issues with. But then on the flip side, you have Elaine saying shit like, I belong to no one, but my heart belongs to you. Talking about Grayson, but she has a lot of stuff around her about how love trumps a mating bond and things like that. And I think if Bryce and Hunt are not true mates and Bryce and Azrael are, it's just a further proving of that thing in Elaine's storyline. This is actually why I don't have a problem with BRYCERIEL girlies and Gwynreal girlies being like, or even Azris girlies being like, the redhead of our choice is Azrael's mate. Because that doesn't actually bother me, because I don't think that Elriel are mates at all. In fact, I think that the mating choices for all of these characters, Bryce and Azrael and Elaine and all of that, they have to be good choices. We have to love Hunt and Lucian and Gwyneth, if Gwyneth is even involved in this at all. We have to love them in order for Bryce and Azrael and Elaine's choices of their respective loves to mean anything. This is why, even though like I am an Elriel girly, I'm a day one Lucian girly as well, and I truly do not think that the Elriel book will be a good book if it villainizes Lucian, or the Lucian book would be a good book if it villainizes Azrael, because then it takes Elaine's narrative of personal choice and makes it more of like a Tamlin Rhysand thing, and I'm not here for that. And I don't even necessarily disagree with you on the idea that Sarah could be setting up a cross-world mate story. If anything, I think that would be really ambitious. I personally, I don't know how I would feel about it, but I think it would be a really ambitious thing, and I wouldn't be opposed to see how Sarah would write that. But I just don't think that Bryce and Azrael being mates is automatically equivalent to Bryce and Azrael are endgame. I think Bryce and Hunt are endgame, and Bryce and Azrael and Elaine, for that matter, their arcs would be similar. They would be rejecting the mate that the cauldron or God or the mother has for them and choosing the person that they actually love instead. Bryce would be choosing Hunt, who is like, even though like he's not as compatible with her powers or whatever, it doesn't mean that he is not compatible with her romantically and sexually and friendship wise and things like that. It doesn't make sense for her to drop Hunt and run away with Azrael because mates, because it makes a lot of Bryce and Hunt struggles not mean anything. On the flip side, I think the same thing about Lucian. I think that in order for Elaine's constant theming around personal choice to hold and her still choose her mate, she has to choose Lucian because of Lucian, not because of this mating bond that's sitting between them. And I think that Lucian would need to start relating to Elaine as Elaine and not as, his mate or whatever. And I think that's what we have here. And with Bryce and Hunt as well. I think that these two characters see each other and not as mates and not as, these pieces in the Magic Soup Bowl's grand design. Like, do I follow your logic about Hunt and Azrael being this of the same substance in regards to the demons of hell making them or having a hand in their making, or even that Azrael has more potent ability to power up Bryce in a way that Hunt either can't or has not shown the potential to yet? Yes, I'm with you on that. That's actually why I commented on your thing, because I don't normally go out of my way to engage in ship content that isn't with the stuff that like I personally vibe with, because I don't want to be like an asshole. I don't want to like cross the shipping trench lines and piss anybody off. I just genuinely liked your content. I was totally here for it. And it's interesting to see how you're on one side of the ship war and I'm on a different side of the ship war. And we have come to the same conclusions when it comes to Hunt and Azrael's origins. Like, that's just so obvious to me. I just don't think that Azrael and Bryce being mates means that they're endgame. I think they're going to be endgame. And I think they're going to be endgame. There's just too much buildup here. At the end of the day, though, like, we just vibing. Like, I think there's a lot of different ways that this could go. And I think that the ACOTAR fandom in particular, we have been sitting on no book, no announcement for several years now. So we are kind of feeling the theoretical pressure here. Not even just like to find out what happens next, just to make the vitriol between fans online stop, but mostly just to come up with theories that take into account the author's retconning and the amorphous details that we have already. Like, we're all doing our best. And I do genuinely think that you're on the right track about Hunt and Azrael. Like, and I'm honestly really glad that my For You page showed you to me, because I would not have seen that otherwise, because my For You page is, again, generally pretty good at filtering out like non-shipping things that I personally like, or things that just have a way too much vitriol. And I have a lot of friends in the ACOTAR community, especially now, who ship different things from me, and we can all sit down and have a conversation. So I'm hoping that this is less of me coming out and antagonizing you and more just like starting a dialogue, starting a conversation, because based on what little bit of your content that I've seen, you immediately had me being like, yes, girly has it right. Just when it came to like the Bryce Azrael being mates and being endgame part, that's the part where you lost me. But everything else, though, I was with. I'm going to close this out in some Bryce and Azrael art as a gesture of goodwill and potential fandom friendship in the face of this long, intractable ship war that is not ending anytime soon. Cheers.